we've always said it's important to have financial literacy. It doesn't matter what you make, it's how much you save. I don't care what you make, it's how much you save. We've seen countless times because we deal with clients all the time in all walks of life. We've had doctors who are high paying have so much debt. They make, hundreds or, $500,000 a year, but their debt is right to what they make. So they spend exactly what they make. So
welcome to the Canadian Mortgage Show. Here are mortgage professionals, Pang and Alex Shanks, to cut through the BS and educate Canadians on all things mortgages and real estate.
Welcome to episode 96 of the Canadian Mortgage Show. Alex Pang here alongside Alex Shanks. Now, before we begin, let's make sure you hit that follow and subscribe button on Spotify and YouTube. We're at 143 on YouTube and 391 on Spotify. Help us grow the community. Get us to 1,000 on both platforms. Alex, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good here today, man. It's thank you for pushing. I had to push the podcast a little bit because I was out mountain biking with my son this morning, which was pretty awesome that way. And so appreciate you allowing that to happen.
Hey, summer happens. We want to go outdoors, right? Like right now, the weather's kind of overcast, but still kind of warm. It kind of starts.
Perfect temperature. This is like perfect temperature.
It starts out at like 16 to 17 degrees. And then it warms up to be like, oh, it's like 22 to 24. It's kind of good. I mean, July is usually hit and miss that way. August is August to mid-September is usually, especially in the West Coast here, it's kind of consistent there. But hey, got to talk about this. Vancouver, I mean, we're done our World Cup duties. It's been amazing. I feel like I'm getting a bit of withdrawals because, like we're down, the tournament's whittled down to like, well,
8 now, I think, isn't it?
8, but now 7 because, we're recording on a Friday and France won yesterday. Thank you for beating Morocco because they beat us. But I mean, like we've been seeing partying every day on Granville Street and PNE and all that stuff from, supporters of all nations. And it was, I did not expect it to be that well received in Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean the Colombia one, like it was like nuts. Like some of the videos I saw of downtown, like it was packed.
Yeah. So I mean, like the Switzerland-Colombia game was our last a game in Vancouver. It was the round of 16, and it went to penalties. And all of BC Place was all yellow jerseys, all Colombian supporters, and there was a tiny little section in the upper bowl for Swiss supporters. And you know what? Swiss ended up winning. And it's always the woulda, shoulda, couldas. Like if Canada won our group, like we could have faced Colombia and Colombia looked beatable. They didn't look that great. And I'm like, you know what? But you know what? It's always the what ifs that could very well be, right?
And I know it's the one fun thing is, I mean, it's all, if people haven't been watching, but like the Erling Haaland, like, I mean, he's everywhere. Anything I go on social media, news, anywhere, he is just the darling of everything. It's everyone's loving him. And he provides, again, when you talk about sports, you have people that are kind of cocky and like, oh, I'm the best at everything, and make some people like almost be jealous, where this one's like, oh man, like this is just like such a down to earth guy. Like everyone wants him to do well, which is, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. I've jumped on the Norway bandwagon as well. But funny enough, Google has jumped on the hype train. So this has been kind of making the rounds on social media and stuff. Now we're going to get our producer, EJ, to do this. Now, if you search up Erling Haaland on Google, just wait and see. We'll show you what this looks like. That's amazing, right? Like Google even jumped on the bandwagon doing the Viking row and everything.
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's, I mean, it's even people EDM music. Kygo, like he made a song that like Erling Haaland when he was younger did like a song, and there's a full song on Spotify. I think it's at the top of the charts right now and everything. It's like everyone's in on this.
Yeah, and before we get off of this World Cup thing. There's a soccer analyst, Christian Jack from One Soccer. This has made the rounds on social. He praised Vancouver for being the best host city.
Vancouver was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So what a World Cup city. Let's go back to the time where we were hoping Canada were going to get cities to host this World Cup, and Vancouver weren't even marked to be one of them. What a shame that would have been. we've got to see the best version of this unbelievable city over the last few weeks. The weather's been marvelous. The fan bases have been absolutely incredible, passionate. The streets of color. We've had the gold of the Aussies, the all whites of the Kiwis. We've had the Egyptian Kings. We've had Salah partying on Granville Street. You know, we've had De Bruyne. We've had David's hat trick. We had Diaz today. I know Toronto had some of the stars as well, but 23 goals in 6 games before they came here. And this city has embraced it. You know, there's a lot of talk around save the caps, and why wouldn't they here in this city? Because you can see loads of white cap shirts around the city all the time, how much Vancouver and British Columbia love this sport. But for the World Cup, it was arguably one of the greatest cities that have hosted it. I've been to 5 now, and I speak to a lot of people who've been to a lot of games, and when I ask them about Vancouver, their eyes widen and they just smile, and they want to talk more about it. Partying every night, no matter what team it is. It's what a World Cup is supposed to feel like, not just what's on the field. And by the way, 54,000 plus in 7 games every single time. Brilliant atmospheres as well. But the feeling of a World Cup in the streets of Vancouver is what made this city a world-class city once again.
I mean, that was amazing, right? Like Christian Jack, I mean, he's Canadian now, but you know, he was from the UK and, you know, been to many World Cups as an analyst covering it and saying that Vancouver has been the best host city. Like I'm born and raised here. And, you know, when you're born and raised in a city, you take it for granted. We know all the warts. We know like the homelessness, the whole, the high unaffordability, the food prices, all that stuff. But for 5 weeks of this tournament, this huge global event coming to town, it just makes you really proud to be, you know, part of the West Coast, don't you think? Even though you're on the
Well,
island,
no,
Alex,
we
right?
forget what we have here. Like it's always good to have other people come here and be like, oh my God. I mean, hey, hopefully a lot of people don't move here. I don't want people taking it over, but it just it brings it back of like when you go and you talk to people, they're like, you have this, and you're like, oh yeah, I guess like it's just so normal to us. And so it's fun to see other people's excitement. I mean, anything in life, even like going biking with my kid today. Was it a big trail? No, but he was having fun. I was having more fun. That's the same with everyone else here coming to Vancouver, enjoying. And do you, I think you maybe like soccer a little bit more than I do, but I've been watching it because everyone else is watching it. And so you're excited about it.
Yeah, yeah. Yesterday, uh, when France and Morocco was going on, I have a realtor buddy who came from France, and I was like, "Hey, where are you watching it?" And you know, and he's all excited. So there's been friendly banter, and yeah, friends. I have friends from like you know Colombia, Brazil, and everything, and Korea as well. And you know, it's been great, kind of connecting with people that way. You know, like we've said before, world peace has happened for the World Cup. Like, you know, these tournaments have been amazing. So, Alex, we have a very big show. We should get started.
We got to jump into it here. I'm going to talk about this one because I used to work all along this pipeline actually. Now, Canada's and Alberta announces new West Coast oil pipeline to boost exports to diversify global markets for Canada's energy products through a new pipeline toward Asian markets. And I mean, like, we should have been focusing on Asian markets for years. Like that is like where it should have been happening. It's going to carry about 1 million barrels per day from Alberta to the Pacific coast. Alberta said construction could begin as early as September 2027. I'm going to put some money on it. I'm going to say 2029 is when this actually starts.
Okay.
And the pipeline would give Canada more exports to Asian. And it's going to be Pema and Trans Mountain announced as partners. And like they have pretty much all the pipelines running through those corridors there, which again, we talk about trying to make new areas for pipelines. Well, really, we should use where pipelines already are. And that's like a lot of these have bigger pump stations. And so that's where the infrastructure for this is already ready to go.
Yeah. So if you see on this map here, it's basically going right in the heart of Alberta, you know, cutting through BC out to the West Coast. I believe it's not on here in the news that, you know, it's great that all parties have come together. BC, David EBD has even said, we have no jurisdiction, so we're not gonna fight this. I mean, like, you know, he's actually laid down. First Nations have already agreed as well, so everyone is partnering as well.
It is like it is amazing. Like for one, and I would love people and anyone that's scared of like pipelines and stuff, especially this one here. I worked on it 7 years ago for 5 years straight. It is the cleanest pipeline area pretty much anywhere in Canada. Like this was built, like the Trans Mountain was built in the 1950s, and the amount of work and rocks that they had to deal with but like what condition the pipeline is it's absolutely amazing. And that's where like people need to understand like what we do in Canada, especially in BC for like the safety of the pipeline and stuff. Like, yes, could there be an oil spill, a small leak? Potentially. That's going to happen in anything. Your car leaks. Are we going to stop driving vehicles because our car could have a leak? But again, they have the systems in place and they can tell like within like millimeters if the pressure is going down. Like the systems that they have nowadays don't allow catastrophic like oil leaks to happen because they have had those issues and now they have the barriers to prevent that.
Yeah, and part of this announcement too that they were going to avoid uh, northern BC. Is that correct? And then they still have that tanker ban along the like Prince Rupert or something like that. Like, are you familiar with like some of that
I don't
announcement?
fully understand the I'm not I wouldn't be able to say like I'm in depth on the tanker ban and everything. Now I know the tanker ban, and again, don't quote me on this, but like it is mainly for our own tankers. Like if you are a foreign tanker, you can go through it. Like it's a very weird system and ban on it. And again, hey, like when you come in, we have pilots that have to drive this. It's not like maybe Alex, let's say you're from Asia. You're not driving the boat into here. You've never been to this harbor. That is going to be a professional pilot in BC that specialize in those waters. And again, the safety that we have for everything. Again, hey, if we could get stuff like these tankers in there, well, again, can we get away from the US? But again, we need to have tankers to be able to do that, or all we're going to be doing is just going down south to US because that's all where we can pump it on land.
Yeah, that one I still don't understand. I mean, Mark Carney signed an MOU with BC that'll keep the tanker ban in place. I mean, we're going to maintain our North Coast tanker ban without alteration, suspension, or narrowing of scope. So it's kind of like good, good. I mean, there's more positive than negative in all these announcements that we're talking about. Like this episode, honestly, is our energy podcast. And, to preface this, we have an energy expert coming in next week just to, dive in more detail about this. But yeah, I mean, this new pipeline, if you look at the map here, it will go down south down the TMX route. BC is set to benefit much more from the pipelines based on this new MOU and future pipeline. And TMX will pay BC more royalties and reimburse costs. I mean, this is a huge win for BC and activists. Alberta is pretty much the last in line to make money while agreeing all the cost increases in their MOU. But hey, Alberta's been landlocked and they've been wanting to, sell their oil and having
Yeah, well,
this.
this is going to allow maybe more work to happen in Alberta and everything. And again, people do remember that Trans Mountain TMX, like it's owned by Canada, like it's owned by the federal government. And so like we're just passing money around to be honest that way. Like it's not like it's not a privately owned company that's giving money back here. It is our own money.
Yeah. But the good news isn't over yet, Alex. There's more.
Yeah, I'll let you keep going there.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, we have a second oil pipeline proposal. Now we're going west. Now we're going east. The premiers of Alberta and Ontario unveiled a proposed 3,300 kilometer pipeline to transport oil from Western Canada to refineries in Southern Ontario. Look at this map here. This pipeline would transport estimated 500,000 barrels per day of oil with possible expansion to 800,000 per day. So remember what we talked about? It's good that we have all the resources, but we don't have refineries. Or we've transported down to the States. They refine it. We buy it back.
We have refineries in BC, and I mean, for people that believe that there's no oil in their backyard, especially Vancouver people that fight it the hardest, there's pipelines running pretty much right underneath your house, and there's a refinery right there. And so this one, I would put it much lower on the chance of happening compared to the other one. I would need to know like where this route is going. Again, if they already have like a right of way, like when you build a pipeline, it's on a right of way. And if there's other pipelines there, it's obviously going to be a lot easier. You're not dealing with more environmental permits and stuff. If this is a brand new thing, it's going to be very hard to build. I'll be
Yeah.
interested to hear when we talk with the energy specialists here. I would put this one as more of a making it look good of like, hey, this is what we're doing. I'd have a hard time seeing that it's actually going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, the one in BC, it's already an existing pipeline. Am I correct in that one?
Exactly, like the one like we already have like that's gonna run the exact same path as all the pipelines that already are here
Okay.
in BC that way.
So this one heading east is a brand new. So this
I
this
don't
built
yeah, I do believe it's a brand new it's for sure a brand new pipeline. I just don't know if it's following another, like, corridor or of a pipeline, which would again, it's easier if they already have some of the infrastructure there. But if it's
yeah,
just like if they have to clean roads and do everything, like,
yeah.
I
This
don't
could
see it
take
happening. I
what,
mean,
10,
you can
15
look
years if
down
it's
there, it's
brand
all
new?
you can see where like, for, Quebec, like, it's obviously it's trying to skirt down as low as possible to also get out of there.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I'm like, we'll talk with our energy expert next week. Like, if this proposed pipeline goes through, we're kind of avoiding Quebec, and we've long talked about how Quebec is the what was the Debbie Downer of Canada, poo pooing
Yeah,
everything, and by avoiding Quebec, does this address our coast to coast, essentially almost coast to coast
yeah.
pipeline, while it's still going to southern Ontario using the St. Lawrence River, I guess, to transport oil to the Atlantic. So we'll have our energy expert to dive deeper into that. Now, there's more, Alex.
It's all, and I mean, we got the Canada British Columbia Cooperative Prosperity Agreement. The Columbia Cooperative Prosper. That's just that's like, why do we make these words so massive? Why don't we just say the Canada British Columbia Prosperity Agreement, or just even the agreement? Like, why do we need to have all these crazy words in it? Um, Now this is for acceleration of permitting for financing and construction for the LNG Canada Phase Two, QSUM LNG, Cedar LNG, and Woodfibre LNG. Like, some of these are already going, like the wood fiber LNG and Squamish, like these are already all starting. It's going to be the phase two for some of them. We say that they're going to invest 500 million into Red Chris mine expansion, will increase Canada's annual copper production by more than 15%. We got the 3.9 billion for the North Coast transmission line, which feeds the Golden Triangle mining district and northern LNG plants. I mean, this we need more power. It's great to say we want to build all these infrastructure and stuff, but we obviously need more power to get out there. But again, do we have enough power to supply it all? Then you got the expansion of the Roberts Bank terminal at the Port of Vancouver, Southern Tanker Route, the 3 billion for George Massey tunnel replacement project. That now projects to cost 8.5 billion, double the initial estimate. Now, the thing that excites me about all these things, these are going to be all high paying jobs for tradespeople. There is finally, even if only two of these things actually happen, like that is actually going to be substantial work for BC and Canadians to come in, and it's high paying jobs. Like, it's not $20 an hour type of jobs.
Yeah, I mean, we've long talked about how we need to uncleave from housing as our main driver of the
Yeah.
economy. This is going a long way. All these announcements. We're not done with these announcements, by the way, but all these kind of projects using our resources, using our nation's rich wealth to create jobs, create prosperity and stuff. And this goes a long way. So, I mean, we've long kind of poo-pooed the government and we shit on the government all the time, but we got to give flowers when it's due. When these kind of things are announced, great, make sure the shovels hit the ground. Make sure this actually happens. This is not all talk. This is not all
And
just
that's yeah, don't
political
just have it all
showboat.
talk. Be like, hey, like, let's make sure we're actually putting time and effort into two of these, because they're not going to be able to do all of them. Like, there is no questions on that. Now, I hope that they can accelerate the permitting and financing for construction of things. Like, that needs to be easier. Like, that's something that they should do. And obviously figure out what one's going to be the best for our economy. And to be honest, like, I'd probably say leaning more towards like the copper production, like that honestly, like, hey, we know that for everything that we're doing, even with batteries, everything, we need more copper. And so that one to me is like, ooh, I think we probably should be focusing on that.
So you're saying with all these news, my oldest son, he got into BCIT. He's on the wait list to be an electrician. So you're saying the future is bright for him? Like there's going to be
I
opportunity
would
for him
say,
to work?
I would say so. I mean, like, even if you talk to, you hear when billionaires and stuff, like, we talk about AI, what it's going to take over. It's again, for people that are developers and stuff, is it less likely that they will have the high paying jobs? It's going to be harder for them, but if they like specialize in it, they're not going to lose it. But we're going to be talking about other projects, and these all need trades workers. And I mean, I think people were sold a Kool-Aid of like, hey, to be good in the economy and be a real person, you need to have a degree. That's what you need to go to, and that's going to make you the what you should be as a Canadian. I think that was a lie for a lot of people. I was lucky enough to be like, I tried university, lasted about 3 months. I'm like, that this doesn't work for me. I'm gonna go and get trades. And I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today. If I went and got like a degree as just an accountant, I would not be in the same shoes I am today. It would have taken 4 years, 6 years for schooling. I would not own multiple homes. I would not be where I'm at today if I didn't get into trades.
Well, my story's a little different. I was the typical Asian kid going to school, university and stuff. My degree is in kinesiology and
Yeah.
I'm in finance now. So I did not completely. So yes, I got the degree, but I'm totally not doing what I study. And, it's afforded us opportunities too. And
No, again, it depends. Like my wife, she has her master's in physio. Hey, since she finished school, she's only really ever had to work 3 days a week. She can make a very decent income only having to work 3 days a week. I used to have to travel away for work. Like, hey, it was great, everything I did, but it was a lot harder. Now I get to be home every single night, but it was 10 years of hard work to be able to set something up like that. Where if you get into the right industry for school, it is worth it. But I just don't believe the arts and all these other things, it's like they're just like fake degrees, really.
yeah, yeah, no, I totally get it. Okay, we move on here. The good news don't keep aren't stopping. There's more stuff here. So now Alberta's had a really good week. So I got to give
Yeah.
flowers to Danielle Smith, the premier there. Congratulations. Trying to help the economy there. So per Danielle Smith, the federal clean electricity regulations are gone, and it's opened the door to new investment in Alberta's power grid and economy. Case in point, there's a 4.6 billion investment in the Greenlight Electricity Center, which will create more than 1,000 construction jobs, provide reliable electricity for industry, and reduce electricity costs for ratepayers, and further establish Alberta as a global destination for investment. And this is Alberta's announcement from the government. And you know what? It's being powered by Alberta's abundant natural gas. All right, but we're not done yet. There's more. It's just the gift that keeps on giving today.
Yeah.
You know, Canada, it's getting its first gigascale data center, and it's going to be in Sturgeon County in Alberta. Meta, owners of Facebook and Instagram, I think WhatsApp too, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, they own lots of stuff.
They own lots of stuff. They're going to spend $13 billion to build an AI data center in Alberta. So it's going to be a 1 gigawatt facility. That's that's the amount of electricity it will consume, and which is if we're thinking about it in real world numbers, the city of Edmonton consumes 1.4 gigawatts. So
Yes.
we all have talked about how data centers will need a lot of energy to run and cool and stuff. Um, and so this data campus will be built on 1,750 acres of land, which is greater than the size of Stanley Park in Vancouver. And it's going to employ 3,000 workers at peak of construction. And once it's operational in 2 to 3 years, we'll have 300 ongoing jobs. Now, Alex, when we talked about the detractors of data centers and needing to be cooled and needing a lot of water, Daniel Smith has something to say about that, right?
And this is true. And I mean, it's all depends on the amount of money that they want to put into it at first. Like if they want to be cheap, and the problem with most of these massive like companies, they're cheap and they want profit levels up front, not in the future. And so on here, the old data centers and even ones that they're still building today, like they have to use a lot, but there's other ways to do it. And this one, they're saying that they're going to do a closed loop liquid cool system with dry cooling that requires no operational water, and that's because it's all there. It's the same as a boat when it's cooling, it's using its own water, but it does cost more money. And so that's where some of these are like companies like, oh, we're not doing that because it cost us $4 billion up front. But if we just use the water there, it's cheaper. But again, they're not thinking of the future that way. And so I think it's exciting. Now, I mean, I think also yesterday Meta is getting sued for a data center somewhere in the US because of the toxicity levels in the water.
Yeah, I've heard things about like, yeah, maybe it's rendered the drinking water like turning into brown water and all that stuff. So,
I mean, you're
I
gonna get
mean,
into like Flint, Michigan and stuff. And I mean, like they know like their IQ levels there are lower. Like it is like it's a straight up provable fact. And that is, I mean, I want these things. And like we talked with Brendan Ogmanson last week, like I think we need such this stuff to like again to be bringing Canada in the right way. But we have data on pipelines. I know that we can do it safely, and we have that. this to me is like a scary one. What about all the people in that area living there? This one I honestly would rather have more red tape on because we don't have enough information on it yet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, we've talked about how companies have moved their headquarters out of Canada.
Yeah.
And here's positive news where US company Big Meta is investing into Canada. So we've kind of reduced the red tape, made it, I guess, cheap for them to buy compared to in the States. Um,
Well,
but
again,
yeah,
but the way that their taxes are going to be set up is they're not going to be paying as much taxes in Canada. That's where it's like, hey,
yeah,
I'm happy that this is all happening here, but also like again, like the way that they fund flow their taxes are not. It's going to bring a boost here for like all the work, like the employees and job. But like I would say, if someone probably ran a graph, the GDP increase on it, other than for the first 2 to 3 years, is probably not substantial. Just because again, they're not going to be paying multiple tax bills here in Canada. It's when they flow it, it's through all their subsidiaries.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so just finishing off what Daniel Smith mentioned, the data center campus will be developed under Alberta's bring your own power approach. Rather than relying solely on Alberta's electricity grid, the project will combine grid connected electricity with generation from the new 4.6 billion private sector funded on site natural gas power plant, helping protect grid reliability. This will bring electricity customers across the province will benefit by reducing transmission costs by up to 6% on Albertans' utility bills. And she did go on to say that it'll inject $250 million a year into the Alberta economy. So that's good news. So it's not just relying on oil, looking on using their land for data centers and all that stuff. So all in all, that's pretty good news.
Yeah, and I think it's again whatever we can do. And hey, again, these are not. The hard thing with this is some of this stuff. Well, could they be replaced by robots? Probably. And I mean, so that's where it's like, hey, do we have a lot of people employed during the peak of construction? Yep. And then when it gets done, I mean, what happens? And that's just where it's so interesting talking about all that stuff. And again, I just don't understand where we're going with the AI stuff of having robots do everything. Like, are we all just gonna sit at home and just make are we all just gonna be podcasters making different like videos and stuff? Like, is that what's everyone gonna do?
Well, hopefully we're one of the earlier adopters. So if the time comes, we've already benefited and then we'll have tens of thousands of followers and subscribers.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, folks, we're just housing guys. So we're talking about this based on what we see on social and the news are out. Our expert next week, we're going to dive deeper into this, the whole infrastructure and the whole like, and like you and I, we even talked about nuclear. Nuclear is the cleanest energy. Why is it nuclear? And we'll talk about all those things next week. We might even dedicate the entire podcast next week just energy and
Totally.
what this is going on and the benefits and the pros and cons and how far we've come as a country. Hey guys, Alex Pang here, your favorite Canadian Mortgage Show co-host. You've heard us talk about all things mortgages, but if you have questions about your own mortgage, or you're thinking about buying, refinancing, or renewing, send us an email at info@canadianmortgageshow.com. We're always happy to help. That's info@canadianmortgageshow.com. Now, back to the show. We've shifted gears here to housing. If you look on this infographic here on the current housing market, now housing has always been region specific. And when you hear news from the Canadian Real Estate Association about the national average and all that stuff, it really means nothing to us because we're all always region specific. Right now in the lower mainland, the last couple of years, it's been kind of slow, like market wise. Not so on the island with Alex there. So if we break this down by region here, I mean, it's no surprise here. The major centers here in Vancouver, Toronto, even the GTA, um, we're down. I mean, we're down like 6%. Um, whereas the prairies and Atlantic are seeing solid gains. Even Calgary and Edmonton, I mean, they have come down from their peak. Uh, yeah, the prairies, Regina, Winnipeg, Montreal, Quebec, even Halifax has seen positive gains there. So, I mean, this kind of confirms what we've been saying, for weeks and months on end.
Again, and we'll see what happens with Vancouver. Again, we talked about the bailout. Is it a bailout and stuff like there's price corrections. Like this is not abnormal. Everyone has just been so addicted to real estate saying it only goes up, it only goes up. stock market doesn't only just go up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. In all history does have a trajectory up, and that's just where we've just been, I think, addicted to this real estate just only going up at such an aggressive rate, and it's finally being like, hey, like that's not what it's always going to do.
Yeah, any industry, there's cycles, and
Yeah,
so I guess with the real estate cycle, we've had a bull market for 15 years
yeah,
up until like 2022, the first quarter. But yeah, I mean, we're going through a cleansing. I think the market needs it, to be
yeah.
honest with
Now the
you.
one thing, and I've been talking to other realtors and some brokers, especially in the Vancouver area. One thing, if you are thinking of selling your place and like, hey, not even talking about just trying to get it sold in some cases, it's actually have some run your numbers and make sure when you sell, there's either profits or you can even cover all your everything. There's people that are trying to sell and they haven't looked at that, which I think is so wrong for one on the realtors that have done it, the banks who are helping them is, hey, what happens when you sell? Is there any going to be anything left over? Are you actually going to owe money? And in some cases, especially if people bought with minimum down payments, the values have gone down. When you sell, you actually would owe money. You're actually going to owe money to the bank and everything, and you need to know that up front. And it that's where, to me, I help a lot of people, even just when they're trying to sell place. I may not even be doing a mortgage for them. It's like, hey guys, this is what your penalty is going to look like. These are what the fees are going to look like. Hey, is this actually going to work for you? And sometimes we're like, holy shit, I thought I was going to make more money in that because they're not factoring all the costs in.
Yeah, I see that happening more in the major centers that because right now we're seeing a drop. Less so in the core of Vancouver. I would say more. I can see it being more in the Fraser Valley, which
Oh,
we
100%. Yeah.
we spiked more during COVID, and we're seeing the larger drops. Same thing in the GTA. Probably not Toronto specific, but in the surrounding areas, the Golden Horseshoe area,
But I mean,
where
I
they
even
see
have a
crazy
client that's
gains. Now they're
buying in
seeing.
like the Burnaby area. And in 2023, the last time the condo sold, it was 669. The condo's now selling for 520. And it's like,
Yeah.
whew, that stings.
Yeah, especially when people bought during the peak too. They bought at the peak prices and it's
Yeah.
down probably 20% since then. Life changes, they might have accumulated debt and they just need to uncleave and unload. Well, in previous markets, it's easy to sell and just, wipe the slate clean. Your place has gone up, but in we're in this point in time now where prices are down.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we're unwinding a frothy economy, it doesn't happen right away. It takes years to to unwind, and we're seeing the symptoms of that right now. Next up, we hear is the sold price to assessment. We're focusing on the Greater Vancouver area here. Um, Greater Vancouver, Fraser Valley in June. We see the large drop was for apartments, like we just talked about, the strata apartments, um, particularly in the Fraser Valley. I mean, if you look here, apartments are like only selling for less than 90% of assessment here, whereas
Yeah.
detached and maybe townhomes are kind of holding steady around the 96% of assessment. Now, we've always long talked about before when we had the run up, BC assessment is 6 months behind when they released it. So it's
Yeah.
not the fairest indicator of value. This is especially when we're going up in the market. This is the same case too, going down. I'm getting now where we're getting values doing appraisals. Uh, BC assessment is higher than the actual market value. The price has even come down from when the assessment was done a year ago from now, or a year ago from now. So
And
yeah,
that's where
that's
like when people when you're putting offers in places right now, people, especially depending on your area, hey, like you if you are going to be putting a 20% down payment and that's all you have, like you do need to be careful of an appraisal value if you have to do one. Because I always just like to use super easy math. Let's say, hey, if you're buying at $1 million and you're going to put 20% down, that's a 200K down payment. That means the max mortgage you can get is 800,000. Now, if that appraisal actually only comes in at 900,000, what the bank is able to do is they can only finance that up to 80% now. And so 80% of 900 is actually 720. So now you have a shortfall of $80,000 that you have to come up with to be able to do that now. And that's where you need saw like again, I always get people where they're like, "Oh, I'm using a mortgage broker from Ontario or a real like." especially realtors, like you need to have them to be local. Like you don't want to be using a realtor that specializes in downtown Vancouver for Abbotsford. Like there is a skill set that way, and you want people to understand. And right now, especially in the greater Vancouver area, hey, I'm asking the realtors, hey, what do we think the value is going to come in here? Like, are we needing to be worried about that? My area is different. Our BC assessments are lower than what the values are. But again, you need to protect yourself. That's why you have to have subject to financing. You can't just waive that in this market here.
Yeah, even in my case, I'm dealing with a couple of refinances, and these refinances are to pay down some debt and all that stuff. In one particular case, I have a client. Their house in Maple Ridge is assessed at 977, and the numbers work if we have the value at 977.
Yeah,
Well, we have a residential report told us it only came in at 910. I'm like,
yeah,
oh Lord, but
yeah,
this might collapse the deal because the mortgage amount's going to be lower, which means they'll have to kick in money
yeah.
to make this deal work. And I mean, they have the money, but it's whether they want to do it. It might put these deals in jeopardy. So,
Yeah,
like,
and that's because you didn't
well,
need to know that stuff up front. That's where it's
yeah,
again like
yeah,
it.
yeah. Like
Sometimes the appraisals are not even a worry to me. Other times it's like, oh, we need this.
in a rising environment, it's easy to refinance them. People were
Yeah,
like using their homes as ATMs and they just refinance, provided their income can qualify for it, and they just keep rolling over the debt. Well, now that prices have slowly coming down, and we feel like it'll probably come down for like, especially in the large urban centers, it might come down more for the next year. It's going to be harder to refinance because the equity that you were like relying on may not be there, and if anything, it's kind of dwindling.
no, exactly. Now this is where we're getting stuff to kind of make it so that developers can't see this until like, but the problem when you get an appraisal, people are going to use it in the area. And let's say, Alex, again, you bought that place at $1 million. You're like, awesome. But there's another unit in that same building and it actually sells for 800K. Well, that comparable now, it is screwed. And so right now, what the condo developers are actually offering massive discounts in exchange for signing NDAs. They don't want the public to set a new comp on the pricing and have it to lower the prices for their other units, especially people that bought at the peak there. And this is where, again, it's going to show up once the home is sold. They can't hide that. There's no way there. But like some are now offered discounts of like 700 square foot compared to 1,000 a square foot, even 75,000 off list price. A lot of them are trying to do other things of like, hey, we'll give you a full kitchen remodel. You get brand new appliances. Like they're doing everything that they can. And again, the people that really kind of get screwed here is the people that bought before. And they're set at those prices. Like that's where it stings. But again, you bought a pre-sale. It was never guaranteed. Like that's to me, unless and people should have gone. And the lenders that can do it are RBC and CIBC. People were doing this. They should have been going to those lenders, getting pre-approved those days, so that they know even if the value went down or something happened to their income, they were approved. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, my mortgage broker said I'm good to go." Values are down now. Maybe they lost their job and they're screwed now, and they have to close with private lenders.
Yeah, I mean, even one developer is even offering a mortgage to the buyer who couldn't obtain one on their own. I mean, provided that their own construction mortgage was paid off. Now, another thing is this is actually not going to even show up on the MLS since it's a pre-sale.
Yeah.
If the sale goes through, it's not going to be recorded on MLS anyway, so it's not going to set a new comp. So that's why these
Well,
developers.
it will show like when the appraiser does like the
Oh
listings
yes,
and stuff out. Yeah, that's
yeah,
like
it's
a
not going to
sale
show up on
will.
MLS though, like a
Right.
resale.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, exactly. No, correct.
All right, so we've long talked about wanting to get income verification through CRA, and our colleague Angry Mortgage there, Ron Butler, has been kind of spearheading it too. Um, Initially, the Liberal government announced tabling it on the budget in 2024 about direct linkage to CRA. It just takes a button, folks.
We used to have it. It was
The
there.
IRS has been having this for the last 15, 20 years. The UK has it. Like, and here is one of the reasons if you don't have that, then fraud can be rampant. And we've long talked about Brampton in Ontario, and you know what? Surrey too. I
Sorry.
live in Surrey, but not my part of Surrey. I don't do it. Surrey, essentially, yeah, is the Brampton of the West. This mortgage broker, Amandeep Dougal, he charged borrowers for creating fake income docs. And he's probably not the only one. It's just a symptom of the industry and maybe of that demographic. You know, I don't mean to be racist. It just happens. And you know what? He submitted falsified income documents with 8 applications to lenders, according to BC FSA. And he was fined 80,000 and had his license canceled. There's going to be more
The
about
one that
this.
was scary for these, and like I've spoken to someone that fully got screwed. Someone and they caught the broker trying to submit false documents, and they said, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" Well, it flags that person forever now. Like they are flagged in their system. They even had court documents saying, "Hey, this was not us," and that's just where it's scary. Like people, you need to understand who you're dealing with, and some people don't know that fraud might be happening on their part for them. Other people like they know it's there, but they're like, "Ooh, is this gonna be okay? I need to close on this home." Sorry to say, like, just walk away. Like, it is better that way, or you're going to be stuck and you're gonna be screwed for life.
Well, and oftentimes too, like during the run up of the bull market, people wanted to get the homes. Mass FOMO was happening, and you couldn't qualify through traditional means. So this was a kind of a shadow market that was happening, where there are some unscrupulous brokers that would do it for you for a fee, and
Yeah.
they probably told you full on going out, "I'm charging you a fee because I'm making shit up for you just so that it works." Well, I mean, the banks gotten duped, and I'm sure like we'll see it in the news too, where foreclosure rates, and in Ontario they call it power to sale, it's spiked in those areas of Surrey and Brampton for those very reasons.
I
So
was an Uber driver making $50,000 a year, owned 5 different properties. Like, there's something is wrong there.
yeah, and I'm sure they're making income. They have like 8 family members in the
Oh,
house,
yeah,
all
they're just
doing
not
some sort
claiming
of
it and stuff
all
like
sort all doing some sort of gig economy and stuff, and because they're making cash income, they can't qualify. So I'm sure they're making the income from a actual number standpoint, but from the
Yeah,
banking
and
stuff,
some of
it's
them no, like, some of them,
yeah,
it's just they were hoping and praying, "I'm buying these things, I'm gonna sell them, I'm gonna make money," and
yeah.
they're gambling, like, they're just going on black and red and throwing down money and hoping that they make something.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we're going to see more of this. I mean, we've heard this through the regulators. We're going to see more of this come out, through higher foreclosure rates, more brokers essentially being caught, and some of these coming out. So, Canada's economy grew here 0.5% in April. I know we're kind of a little lagging behind here, and it's driven primarily by 2%, 2.9% growth in the oil and gas industry. Now, 14 of 20 sectors were up. So this is actually generally broad month of positive growth. Manufacturing rebounded by 0.6%. Construction rose for the first time in 5 months at 0.7%. And rail freight jumped 3.8% on grain and auto shipments. Now, public sector expanded 0.4% here. So, I mean, that's kind of good here. We were talking about the economy kind of slowly shrinking, but it's kind of rebounded here.
Yeah, and that's again, hey, these are all good things. Now, again, you could say, hey, well, a lot of people don't want the economy to grow because they want interest rates to fall. But again, I'd rather rates just be where they are and people have good jobs. Like that's personally what I would rather see. So I don't think it's a bad thing. Some of this stuff is going to grow even more, especially if these new, like the new pipelines are going to happen. And so, hey, we could be going into a better spot. Our GDP has been dropping. Everything hasn't really been growing. And so again, it's exciting to see that maybe we are actually going to grow. Now retiring outs. When are we going to retire here? Because this is not doesn't look good here now. And so back in the day, you were set at 70 in 1970. That was the retirement year, which again, I feel like that people were retiring or in that lowered in to 65 in 1965. Hasn't moved since. I would say the baby boomers, like most people there were retiring around 50 to 55, but a lot of them actually didn't have anything planned. And now they're the ones that are all back at work at like Walmart as greeters and stuff. But obviously, like our expectancies have gone up significantly. Like the inflation numbers are different that way. And our OES, like our old age security, it now costs 80%, 80 billion a year, which is 15% of the federal budget. Again, hey, are we just kind of funding other people's life? Hey, as you've been paying into it, but I would hope that maybe we do some better money with that pension funds. Like we're been so that way. Now, the unofficial retirement age looks now closer to 67 to 68, which I don't even know people that are retiring at that age. Like some of them can't even buy, or sorry, they can't even retire. They don't have the money there. The funny thing, the first time homebuyer age in Ontario now, it's just 40 years old.
Yep.
That is, and so if you take a 30-year amortization mortgage, that means like you are going to pay it off right when you retire. Which again, are you then going to have money? Normally, you're meant to have paid your mortgage off 5 to 10 years before retirement. Keep investing, but that's not what we're in anymore.
Yeah, those are the days are long gone. I mean, we're gonna see more and more people retire that still have mortgages, and and we've talked about this before. I think, especially living in expensive areas in Vancouver and Toronto, like gone are the days that our parents paid off our mortgages in their 40s. Like I'm in my 40s. I'm nowhere near paying off my mortgage. The only way I would end up paying my mortgage is, yeah, my parents are getting older, so eventually I'll get an inheritance and me downsizing at the same time. That's the only way, and maybe moving on and living abroad in somewhere cheaper. That's really the only way. Now, if you ask me to stay in this place, pay off my $1 million mortgage, I'm going to be having a mortgage for the rest of my life, and I will never pay it off. So I think that's kind of the traditional way of staying put, paying it off, especially with the cost of living now in Canada and where we live in the major centers. It's not happening anymore. The only way is to downsize.
Yeah, and I mean that's how it's meant to go. Is the younger generation is meant to buy? They're going to go up, and then the older generation is meant to go down. In some cases, like a lot of the baby boomers, they're not selling their places, which again is making it harder. There's less inventory on the market for like family homes. And also, they're like, well, frick, if I sell this, I might not even, I now have to buy something else and their numbers don't even work. And that's where we talk about real estate numbers, why the government is not going to let it collapse and not let it drop even further than it already has is because of the baby boomers. Like, hey, they're a lot of their money is tied in real estate, and so there's going to be a wealth transfer here in the next 5 to 10 years, like significantly, even from businesses. A lot of people are 65, 70. They don't want their businesses. We finally have made it a bit easier now for people to actually buy businesses. There's some better funding that way, because before, if you were buying a business without real estate, like you had to come up with like a 50% down payment. No one has that to buy a $3 million company. Now you can get up to like 80, 85%. So like it's more feasible to people to buy these businesses, which might free up some money for the baby boomers as well.
Our generation is changing what our parents grew up with, and just the work hard, pay off your mortgage, and then retire in the same home. It's not going to be the case anymore. It's kind of like even the first time buyer at 40, they're not going to start off with a detached home. They're going to start off with a condo,
No,
and they're going to eventually get into like a semi, what they call in Ontario, or a townhouse, and eventually get into a detached house. Now they'll stay there if they have children. They'll stay there until their kids graduate and move out, and then they'll wind their way down and downsize. So
yeah,
that's gone are the days where, I mean, my parents are boomers and they're still living in their 3,000 square foot house in East Van. I'm like, mom and dad, you need to sell and downsize, but it's hard for our parents to give up because it's their pride and joy. It makes
yeah.
sense for us numbers wise, but man, every room is freaking hoarded with stuff and crap and plastic bags and all that stuff that like clothes they bought in the 70s that they still haven't thrown away. I'm like,
They
oh man,
don't want to get rid of it. Yep.
yeah. So it's kind of like because of the health of the older population being healthier longer, they are staying in their homes longer. So that's why you see
Well, I
like
mean, even we didn't even our infrastructure wasn't built for it. Like even our hospitals become more overrun because the people are living longer, and it is because of our medical system being better. But it's like a lot of hospitals, like in my area, we built a brand new hospital. Within a week, it was filled up because everyone was like, "Oh, I can now go into the hospital," and that's where there's going to be like we're in hard points right now. For one, we don't have a growing economy, we don't have immigration anymore, and we're going to have people like losing jobs because they're retiring or they can't. And it's I just feel like it's going to put more pressure on our medical system that is already has the cracks everywhere.
So what we're facing here is a phenomenon too. In like this is Vancouver, and I'm pretty sure the same case in Toronto. our aging parents, they're not moving out of the major cities like the Vancouver, Toronto. Because of that, the young people are moving out to the suburbs, right? So the schools I grew up with in East Van or Vancouver, they're closing down because no young people is taking
Can
over.
go
It's
to
all the old people. But the schools are rising up in the suburbs because the affordability is going out to the suburbs. And the city, the main cities are kind of like slowly dying because of it, because the old money won't leave essentially for the
Yeah,
young
and that's I
people to
mean,
go in.
you can't, and also you can't, if I it works when we have immigrants coming in taking the jobs of grocery bagger and everything. Well, when that happens, like these people that are staying in their homes in Vancouver and stuff, well, they're gonna start to go to stores and there's not gonna be anyone there because we don't have anyone that's gonna be employed.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what we're facing. So hopefully, with real estate going through a cleansing, it's shifting a little bit to improve that. So
You just gotta move to Alberta there, Alex. Like
ah,
you wanna be mortgage free, you wanna go there, and that's I mean, we can see this. Most people are leaving Ontario. People are leaving Ontario, Quebec, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and either moving to the Atlantic, BC, and then substantial amount of people moving to Alberta.
because that's where the jobs are. Like what we announced earlier with these oil pipeline infrastructure projects, electricity stuff. I was even talking to my son yesterday. I'm like, hey, once you get your license, if you could be moving to Alberta and working on this meta project if it's still going
And that's
on. But
I would
yeah,
tell,
there's
like, this is what and I met, he was an HVAC guy, I think I was, like, 15 or 16, and yeah, he lived in Alberta for 5 years, worked his ass off, came back to BC, bought a home in cash. If you go to Alberta and treat it properly, it can really benefit people, but I know so many people that go to Alberta, they make crazy amounts of money, they spend all the money, and then it does nothing for them, and
they
then
just blow it, right?
they're
Drinking
then
and
stuck in a
partying.
rat race of having to now keep working away because they can't save money and they've funded this really expensive lifestyle. And that's where, if you go to Alberta and work, it can be treated really well and you can come back to BC, but like you have to do it properly.
Yeah. We've always said it's important to have financial literacy. It doesn't matter what you make, it's how much you save. That's what my parents always say. I don't care what you make, it's how much you save. We've we've seen countless times because we deal with clients all the time in all walks of life. We've had doctors who are high paying have so much debt. They make, hundreds or, half a million a year, but their debt is right to what they make. So they spend exactly what they make. So they're, trying to maintain their lifestyle. And because of the whole like industry and stuff, they, have to have this
I mean,
image.
all I can say for them is at least they know like their income is very steady. Like it's guaranteed as long as they don't get hurt or something. Like,
Relatively stable. Yeah.
I mean, it's not going away. Where like in Alberta, you could be spending 500,000. You might make that as a oil worker traveling and everything, but that all could end in a year. Like if the oil drops, boom, you've now lost your job and you're screwed. And that's same. I learned that very quickly from commercial diving is you need to put 35% of your income away. There's
Yeah.
really good highs and there's a lot of lows.
Well, that's the same could be said for it's almost like professional athletes too, right? Like
Oh,
you're on
exactly.
contract work.
Yep. You could get injured and you're done. You're not making money
Oh,
anymore.
yeah, like I said, it could be in the tech industry too. You make software developer make tons of money, but they're really hired to be laid off after the project's done. They work there a year or two and then move on to something else. So yeah, that's the case here. But folks, have financial literacy. Don't just listen to your bank. Have an independent financial advisor, help you walk away with personal finances and stuff. The jobs report just came out this morning as we speak, and I wanted to add this in. Canada added 18,000 net new jobs in June, according to Stats Can. So unemployment rate dips to 6.5% from 6.6. Now, year to date, employment is down 6,000 people, which reflects a shrinking labor force. So it's down by 90,000 rather than falling demand. Now, be careful of these news here. Most of the gain was part-time work, not full-time. And what we've talked about, it's likely from the World Cup.
Yeah,
From
there's
a
gonna be a
good
lot of
chunk of it.
demand here. And
Yeah,
it's even
I mean,
summer, there's
hiring.
more like there's people off, like there's part-time jobs that way and everything. And so it's yeah, this is a very normal cycle at this time.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, hey, the bright spot of this is job growth was driven by the private sector because the public sector shed 30,000 jobs. I mean, we've long talked about how the public sector is overbloated. It needs to trim down, it needs to be more efficient. And so, this is good news on that right here. So yeah, you see here on the map here, um, across the country, Ontario is flat. BC unemployment at 6.5. The changes, you see more change here in BC,
Yeah, you got
and
more
such.
more of the
So yeah,
job growth that's happening in Alberta, Yukon, Northwest Territories. You got PEI, and then but yeah, there's again, we're doing it all across Canada. Like in Nunavut, it's a decent drop there. Same thing in Newfoundland, big drop there. But again, it's other areas are growing, especially in Alberta.
yeah, I see that Alberta is going to be return going to return to be the darling of Canada for economy and driving and all that stuff.
I'm surprised that Ontario is just at a zero, like no loss or no gain. Actually, it's just straight zero.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting, especially with other things that have come out here. So this about wraps up our episode here, Alex. What do you got going on this weekend?
This we actually got a wedding here this weekend. Tomorrow we're recording on a Friday right now, so we got a wedding on Saturday here and everything. So excited to do some of that, and it's actually there'll be kids there, so we're kind of excited to bring our kids. They haven't been to like a full wedding to dance and party, so we're excited for that.
Yeah, I actually got nothing going on this weekend.
Which
It's
is not
actually
a bad
nice
problem
because
to have either, which is nice
yeah,
as well.
yeah, the last couple months have been crazy. May was crazy for us, June was crazy, and of course, July has been kind of crazy because we've been kind of jumping on this World Cup bandwagon. So essentially eating and drinking and partying like every other day. So I'm like, oh man, I need to go on a diet. So and I'm going we're attending a wedding in a couple weeks. So my wife's like, oh, we need to lock it down and trim up before so we look decent in our wedding photos. But yeah,
Yeah.
so we're excited. We have a special guest next week. That's an energy expert. We'll announce it next week. But folks, do us a favor. Please like and subscribe our pod on YouTube, Spotify. Please share it with a friend or family member. Help us grow our community. So on behalf of Alex Shanks, I'm Alex Pang. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Canadian Mortgage Show. We'll see you next time.
See ya. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure to follow us. Please give us a 5-star rating. You can even send us an email because we want to know what you guys want to hear about. That's what we're here for. Reach out anytime.